Okay, so welcome everyone. It's so great to see you all online with us this Wednesday, and we're really excited to talk to you more about the topic of the month, which is continuous performance management capabilities. So this should be a really good session with our subject matter expert, John, who is our lead talent consultant. And so I'm sure that you will learn a lot from him today in this session. So for those who don't know Talent Team, we are an SAP Gold partner and a value-added reseller. We supply and consult on SuccessFactors technology, adding value through implementation, integration, support, and our deep knowledge. We work with some of the most influential companies across all industries and deliver anything from small and unique to complex and large-scale projects as well. So we're really excited to deliver this webinar for you today and hopefully inspire you to make some changes in your organization. So just a bit of housekeeping rules. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please put them into a Q&A box, or feel free to ask your questions away at the end of the webinar. Either type them out or even unmute yourself and ask. Don't be shy and keep the questions coming. So yeah, I won't take any more of your time and I'll pass over to John.
Thank you very much, Yasvina. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you all for joining, and thank you, Yasvina, for setting this up for everyone. So in terms of the agenda that we'll be covering today, so we're going to be looking at what is continuous performance management. We'll be looking at the benefits of CPM, and you'll see CPM written all over SAP information regarding continuous performance management as their acronym. We'll talk about versioning. Some of you that may be joining the webinar today may already have continuous performance management, and we'll talk about sort of the previous version and the new release and how that can impact and the different ways that you can utilize that. Then we'll jump into a system demonstration. So first we'll look on desktop before jumping in on mobile into a demo environment so you can see the features and functionality. Then we'll talk a little bit about configuration, and then we'll close with any questions that you may have at the end. Okay. So to kick off, for those of you that aren't familiar in terms of what is continuous performance management. So continuous performance management provides a platform to better track and manage your employees' performance efforts, showing activities towards goals, their achievements, and ongoing one-to-one conversations. So CPM also provides the ability for users to give, request, and receive continuous feedback from others throughout your organizations. So what that means, in essence, CPM facilitates a continuous dialogue really between employees, their managers, their peers, their mentors, project leads, as well as ongoing visibility into their activities and achievements. So currently, SuccessFactors CPM is now being utilized by over 2,000 customers globally, and that was a milestone that was hit in March of this year. So it's a recent tool that's been added into the SuccessFactors suite as part of the performance and goals module. But its growth and its development has quickly moved from what was originally designed to be quite a mobile specific tool into a fully integrated tool into the system. Okay, so next we're just going to touch on some benefits. So we're going to start with the benefits for the employees, and then we'll look at managers and then organizational wide benefits. So in terms of for the employees, what you can do is you can record activities and achievements to provide a more holistic view of performance. So you'll hear activities and achievements quite a lot throughout the session today. So what that means is activities really represent the actions being taken towards achieving goals, and achievements represent completed activities that are noteworthy that we may want to attach to our goals. So employees can link and align their activities and achievements to performance or development goals. So we can start to build up a much more holistic view of our overall performance. As we know, performance, it's not really a snapshot in time, which is, a lot of organizations still maintain a very structured goal setting period, which is followed by a performance review cycle and a general rating. What this is enabling employees to do is really sort of link activities and achievements that, they can be standalone or they can be linked in, and this is going to provide, a more broad perspective of how that employee has performed across the year. So what we have with the newer version of continuous performance management is the enablement of multi-channel feedback. So in the original version, it was very much restricted to a one-to-one relationship between the employee and their manager. With the newer release, what we have is the ability to open channels across the organization, and I'll show you what that looks like in the demonstration once we reach that part of the webinar. You can have real-time feedback, so you have the ability to request or give feedback at any time, and again, we'll talk more about feedback as the session progresses. And employees can take more ownership of their progress and achievements towards completing their performance objectives and their goals. Okay. So in terms of what a manager has the capability to do and the benefits that a manager will see is that they're getting better visibility of the employee activities, the achievements and discussion topics. So as you can see on the image on the left here, it's very easy to mark your discussion topics. Either the employee or the manager can do this, or within the channels you can do this. And there's going to be a marker for your upcoming one-to-ones. With the pandemic especially, we've lost a lot of those sort of water cooler sort of discussions, if you will, and those little quick catch-ups that we have. So this is a very good way of sort of ensuring your discussion topics are not going to get lost or forgotten, and we can mark these complete as well. So we're enabling more structured and meaningful performance discussions. For managers, you have greater flexibility in requesting and providing feedback, which is going to help improve employee performance. So if you do already have the performance module, but not CPM, as you'll know that you can get feedback and you can ascertain feedback through the performance process. But this is a much quicker, easier, more fluid methodology of ascertaining feedback at any point. And you can request that for yourself, you can request that for your employees as well. As a consequence, you're going to have the ability to better understand your employees' performance and mitigate any performance issues. So anything that may start to become an issue, we can nip those in the bud and we can address those quickly with our employees. And we also have the ability to capture all our meeting notes in one place. I've added this in terms of the managers section, but we have a meeting notes section which is private and only to the person who's adding those notes. It can be the employee, it can be the manager, it can be someone within one of those channels. So you've got all your meeting notes stored and you can refer back to those at any point. Okay. So in terms of organizational wide benefits, so you can improve employee engagement and overall workforce performance by providing more continuous, transparent dialogue between managers and employees. So transparency is really key. Continuous performance, it gives great visibility in terms of, we can see all the comments that are being added. We can see all those different channels, all those different mechanisms that are providing feedback. And it's really good in terms of how employees act. So in terms of, again, just touching on that sort of transformation piece. So again, a lot of organizations we see are still very much in a performance cycle where goals get added at one point within the year. And then the feedback, the evaluation piece takes place as part of that cycle. So what this tool helps to do is provide transformation of your performance management processes from a top-down once-a-year evaluation of past performance to a forward-thinking, actionable and ongoing check-in sort of methodology. What we're hearing from a lot of our customers and a few of our recent implementations have been for the performance and goals module, have been more moving away from that annual rating piece and going to a sort of more qualitative approach where ratings are, in essence, a ratingless performance form. And that seems to be very much sort of on trend at the moment. And CPM plays in very well to that because you're able to get a lot of different feedback information in, you're able to get a lot of different qualitative data back into the system. And in terms of multi-role conversations, again, so we'll touch on this more once we're in the system. So this is very adaptable to a changing workplace. As we know now, how people work is changing. It's not always that straight one-to-one dynamic between employee and a manager, or just a matrix manager, for example. We might have a project lead, we might have a temporary supervisor, or someone's on absence, for example. So we can open up multi-channels and we can get that information into the system quickly and easily. Okay, I think I'll just hold off on questions until the end. I appreciate that one's coming to Q&A, but I'll just hold off until the end for the questions. So in terms of versioning, so some of you may already have continuous performance management, and in terms of what you may be used to seeing, if you just bear with me 1 second. but I'll just pull onto my screen now. This is the original version of continuous performance management. So this is still maintained and still used by a number of customers who haven't migrated or to the new version. But just to make you aware that the new continuous performance management user experience was released in 2020. So if you wanted to do migration from the previous version, this can be completed by the upgrade center in the admin center. Once you upgrade, however, you cannot revert the change back. So if you are going to make this change within your system, always do it within your test environments first, so you can test the functionality and make sure that you're happy with the change from the original version to the upgraded version. Okay. So in terms of what's changed recently, so these features won't be included within the demonstration today because they've only just been added to the release notes that were available from the 9th of April, so they're not yet in dev environments. Just to make you aware that there has been some updates to continuous performance management that you will be able to see in the test environment soon. So one is the ability to add attachments to activities. Administrators can now delete feedback integration with Microsoft Outlook. So there's a new Outlook add-in, which means you can directly add feedback from Outlook, which looks very good indeed. There is now story reports for CPM, whereas previously you didn't have the ability to report on multi-channels. You do now by the story reportings in People Analytics or CPM. And there is additional more quick actions available from the homepage. And this is in terms of the new homepage. So you're able to create activities easily and quickly. Okay. So we'll just jump straight into the demo, and I will start on desktop and then I'll move to mobile. Okay, so hopefully you are all quite familiar with the screen. This is the SuccessFactors homepage screen. Again, there is a new version available of the SuccessFactors homepage screen, and in terms of the features and functionality and what I'm going to be doing today, you have parity between the original version and again that new updated look and feel that SuccessFactors have recently released. So once I come in, the first thing that I can see, and you'll see this on mobile as well, is that there's a real drive to get people to engage with continuous performance. So on the homepage, I've got my plus button. So if I click on add, from here I can create an activity straight from the home page without needing to navigate through my home and my drop down into continuous performance management or into continuous feedback. So from here I can create an activity directly. So I will just add a quick activity. I can give it a status, and in terms of the statuses that you define for your activities, this is an activity driven through the implementation, so you would define your statuses. You can also have actions completed based on those statuses. So for example, if something's complete, an activity is going to change from an activity to an achievement, and you'll see that more in the next view. I'll just leave this as medium. What we can also do at this stage is I can link this to any performance or development goals as well. So if I have any linked, it's going to display through the drop down here. But if I want to click on add a link, I can come in, I can see my objectives that I have on my objective plan or goal plan, depending on your terminology. If I find one that's relevant here, I can add it and I can create that link. Alternatively, I can also create a new objective straight away from this view. So if I click on create objective, I can come in, I can start to create an objective. Once my objective is created, it's going to go straight onto my goal plan, and then I can link my new activity to my new objective. So I'll just add a quick objective. Okay, I'll leave percentage completion 0. Define our status and save. So now I've successfully saved my objective, and that will go on to my most recent objective plan. And then at this point, my new objective is available. And then I can create a link straight away between my new activity and my performance objective. So just coming to my drop down at the top, I'm going to move now into continuous performance. So today we'll be looking at our continuous performance tab and our continuous feedback tab. So starting with continuous performance. Once I come in, what I'm able to see in this new view is that I have my channels on the left. I have my activities with Chris Martin, who is my manager, front and center, and I can view my activities either by status or I can view by objective. I can create an activity, I can start a meeting from this view, and I can view my achievements as well. So in terms of my channels, so Chris is my manager, so Chris will always sit at the top here. In my activities that I have here, I can view by status. So I've got my different statuses. Again, this is a customer defined list of statuses, and you can define what those actions should do. So for example, if I take an activity which I've completed, if I move it to complete, it's going to ask me if I want to mark this as an achievement because this is what's set in our configuration options. So I will say yes, and then I can do so. So if I wanted to create an activity from this view, if I click on create activity, again, I've got the same view here. Okay. So I've saved my activity. If I want to come into an activity within here, I can click into here and I have the ability to post an update. And I can add that update. Also from here, I can edit the activity that I have within here. And I can also, from this view, request feedback. I'll talk more about requesting feedback once we move into that feedback view. Or I can also delete if this activity is no longer relevant. So coming back to my view with my manager. Okay, what I can do is I have the ability to start a meeting. So this is really moving those one-to-one meetings through CPM. So if I click on start meeting here, what I can see is that I have my discussion topics. So within my discussion topics, I can see what's previously been added either from myself or by my manager. I can edit this discussion topic, so I can update this if I want to change the text. If I want to add a new discussion topic, I can add one in so we know we need to discuss something pending. Okay. And we'll add that in. Once a discussion topic is complete, I can mark it complete by ticking the tick box, and then this is going to be removed for my next meeting as well. What we're able to see on the right hand side here is a meeting view. Within this meeting notes view, what we can do is we can add notes within the system. So these notes are visible only to the person who are adding these notes. So this could be in terms of my employee view, only I will see my notes that I'm making here. In terms of if Chris was to start this meeting, Chris would have the capacity to see his own meeting notes within the system, and he can save those meeting notes into the system. And again, they wouldn't be visible to myself as his employee. And we can add to these as we need to. And within here, we can save, we can use bulleted lists, numbered lists, we can cut and copy and paste things into here very easily and quickly. So I can save it. As I come down the page, I can see the activities and they're defined by status or defined by objective, as we see on our main view, so we can toggle between the two. And again, I have the ability to link to a performance objective and also to my development objectives as well. Directly within the meeting, I can also create objectives. So if I click on create objective, it's going to create a new objective for my performance goal or objective plan, and depending on your terminology. And I can create a new activity from here as well and link it directly as I can anywhere else in the system. Okay. So once I save my meeting, so I can save to meeting history. What this means is if I come back into my meeting view, what I have the capacity to do is I can see my meeting history and I can go back to any point and I can see the discussions that we've had and I can see the notes that were made and any changes that happened during that meeting as well. If I just jump back to the meeting today, we can see that we completed the discussion topic. Any notes that I had from that meeting are available to refer back to as and when it's required. Okay, so coming back to my activities page here. So again, we can view by status, and from here I can drag and drop and I can change the status quickly. I can quickly add comments to any of these activities within here. I can move something to cancelled, for example, or just change that priority as needed. I can also view by objective, and within objective, I've got the toggle option between my performance and my development objectives. And again, if I wanted to, I have the ability to drag and drop, and it's going to quickly create that link within the system. I can, if I come up to the top right-hand side again, I can see my achievements. And so within here, I can see all my different achievements that have happened within this channel. And these achievements are the achievements that are going to pull through onto the goal or objective plan into the performance form as well, potentially, if you want them to. So what's really useful about the update and the change to the most recent version of continuous performance management compared to the original is our active channels. So within our active channels, I'm automatically going to have a channel with my manager, which is Chris. I've opened a new channel with Charles, who I sent a request an invitation to, so I can interact with Charles through their CPM mechanisms. And again, once I'm within this channel, I can view by status, view by objectives, any activities that are created through this channel in relation to Charles. And I can create activity, I can start a meeting, and this will start a meeting with Charles through the system. I have the same features and functionality as I would with my manager. I can hide the channel if the channel is no longer relevant. You can't currently delete a channel. It's one of the limitations of the current version, but I'm sure in the future there will be capacities to remove channels from this list as well. But if I wanted to, I can just hide. As I can see with Tessa, I've got a standing invitation with Tessa, so I'm just waiting for confirmation from Tessa. If I wanted to add a new participant, all I need to do to open up a new channel is click on add. And then within here, I can search for an individual within the organization. So I'm just going to pick Jeff. And then within here, I can send a personalized note, which that individual is going to see before we can open up this channel. So let's open a new meeting so we can have regular one-to-ones. As you are. So if I send this invitation, one thing that is worth noting that within the system, what you can do is you can apply target population through your role-based permissions. So in terms of what you'll see with the feedback as well, and in terms of who we can create channels with, this can be a target population can be applied. So it doesn't need to be available to everyone within the organization, depending on how you want that configured and how you want that set up. Okay. So I'm just going to proxy quickly as Jeff. Okay, so as I come in as Jeff, we can see straight away that it's really trying to draw us into CPM. So what are you working on? So if I wanted to as Jeff, I can jump straight in and create an activity. I'm just going to come to continuous performance. And within here, I can see my team. I can see the request. So I came into the system as Anya. So I can see this is the message that I sent from my employee account to Jeff to open up a new channel. All Jeff needs to do is either accept or decline. Once the invitation is accepted, this channel is open. And now we have those features and functionalities that as Jeff, I can create an activity for our channel. I can start a meeting, so I can add my one-to-one meetings within here with Anne as well. Okay. So returning to my user. Just very quickly to come back into CPM, so come back into our Benefits tab, we can now see that I've opened a new channel with Jeff, and we've got all those features and functionalities available straight away. So the next thing I want to talk about before we jump into mobile is continuous feedback. So continuous feedback used to sit within the continuous performance dropdown, but again, they've been separated out as part of the upgrade. So what we can see within here is we have the ability to see any feedback that has been received. So I can see that I've got feedback from 2021 from both Chris and from Charles. I can see any feedback that I've given to an individual within the organization. So in this example, great working with you. Just an example comment was added for my manager, Chris here. And I can see any requests that I've sent. So what we're seeing in the top right-hand corner here is the ability to either request or to provide feedback. So if I click on request feedback, and again, this can be controlled through target populations. And I know that I've been working with Christoph as an example on a recent project, and I would like some feedback, which I want to pull in some of my activities and my achievements, or just in general, I can click on Christopher's name. What you have is the need to add a feedback topic. So I'm going to put recent project work. And then we've got a number of questions that we have, and these questions again can be predefined, but what you can also do as a user is you can edit these questions. So rather having what went well, what could I improve on, any additional comments, I can come in and I can completely change these if I see fit. So once I have my questions ready, this will go into my request sent and my feedback has been successfully sent. If I wanted to give feedback, all I need to do at any point is come in and click on give feedback. I can find the individual that I want to provide feedback to. So it looks like Paul Scholes is a finance manager. A slight change of career for Paul there. And again, I can give a topic and I've got my standard questions as defined, but again, if I need to, I can edit these. So if I just add a quick very quickly, just copy and paste these answers down. Okay, and then I'll send this feedback. Okay. So now if I just quickly proxy it as Paul, to show you how that feedback is going to display. And again, as a manager can come in and they can request feedback for one of their employees as well. Okay, so I can see my feedback received. It's come up within here and I can see all the different information that's been added. I have the option if I wanted to make this visible to my manager, yes or no. If a manager requests feedback on behalf of an employee, obviously it's going to be visible to that manager as well, but you have the ability to toggle here. And you can have linked activities as well. So if I wanted to link this to one of my activities, so we can see that Paul's got an activity to develop alternate capacity plans, and I wanted to link this feedback to that, I can do so from here as well. Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second while I enable mobile. If you just bear with me 1 second. With apologies, just 1 second. It worked perfectly just before the call.
Thanks so much for your questions, by the way. We'll answer them shortly.
Yeah, we can take a quick look at the questions now, if you like, just while I'm sorting out my screen mirroring issues.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking at the Q&A now. Yeah, we've got a few questions. Can different elements be enabled separately? For instance, activating first the feedback and meetings and then activities and other.
Yep, so it's depending on the role-based permissions that you add. You can enable things separately as well. Well, I'll show you shortly is the settings that you have available, so you can separate these out as well, yes.
Thank you. An active channel could be created by the employees or by admin.
So the idea of continuous performance really is to drive employee engagement. So it would normally be created by the employees.
Okay, I've got another one. Can the meetings, discussions, topics be linked to calendar meetings in Outlook?
So not currently, but there is ongoing integration work with Outlook. As I say, with the pending release, you'll be able to add feedback directly from Outlook if you have an add-in. So what I would expect to see is further integrations down the roadmap, but not currently.
Okay, and I think just one more for now. When you hide the channel, nobody can see the channel except yourself. Is that correct?
So in terms of those channels you can bring those channels back if you want to. I mean, again, there's a current limitation in that you can't delete a channel once it's been set up. And again, I would imagine that will be addressed moving forward, but it's not currently available. So the workaround currently by SAP is to have the capacity to hide that channel. But when it's hidden, the other user, it wouldn't necessarily be hidden from them. They would need to hide that channel from their view as well. Sorry, let me just try one more time to get my screen mirroring software working.
Sorry, maybe we can do one more question. I see.
Yep, please.
Which are the prerequisites to move to new CPM? I've heard about Fiori version.
Yeah, so it should be Fiori. In terms of the upgrade, what I'd recommend that you do is to complete this in test first, and then you can test all the features and functionality. As with many SAP SuccessFactors releases, they're very much driven by user experience, and sometimes within that you do lose some slight functionality, and they always bring that back in across the release schedule. So it's always worth just checking that you have parity and that you have everything that you need between your current version of CPM and the new version. So I'd say put it in test, and then you can see if it's going to meet your needs really. We can keep going with the questions. My apologies, I'm just going to have to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I see a new one come in. See, can the performance feedback be made anonymously, like 369-degree survey?
So it doesn't work in the same way as 360. So in terms of the feedback, it would, because you're asking someone directly for that feedback, you would be requesting the feedback, so it can't be made anonymous like you can with the 360 degrees.
And can only solicited feedback be activated?
So in terms of any feedback that's been requested, so rather than given, so yep. So again, it depends on how you define, how you set the system up in terms of your permissions and things like that. So if you don't want people to be able to give feedback and just request feedback, it's something that the system's capable of doing. So in terms of, sorry, I'm just starting the system again. So with sincere apologies, I'm having difficulty with the screen mirroring software. from my phone to the laptop. It was working perfectly prior to commencement of this webinar, but since we've started, unfortunately, I'm struggling. So I just, at this point, I'll just ask if there's any further questions. And again, in terms of mobile, I will keep trying it, but if it doesn't work for today, if anyone is interested in seeing how it works within mobile, I'm always happy to take you through that at a separate time, just in case I can't get this working correctly as needed. I do have another slide on terms of integration, but I'll just see if there's any further questions that we can take.
Yeah, also feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask anything.
So in terms of the integration with Outlook, so it's in, let me share my screen and I can show you. Okay. So hopefully you're familiar with what's called the What's New viewer. And this tells you what's new and what's coming in terms of the pending release. So within this coming release, which again, I don't have this functionality available to show you because it's not available within the development systems yet. Okay. Can you just let me know that you can see my screen?
We can currently see your previous screen, feedback details.
All right, okay. So again, I'm a little Zoom issues as well. So it's saying my screen share is paused. Stop and start again. There we go. Hopefully you can now see the What's New viewer.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so what you get in the What's New viewer is all the information about the pending release. So what we can see within here. So if we go to Outlook, for example, we can see feedback integration with Microsoft Outlook. Within here, if I click on See More, what you have the capability to do, it's giving you information about how it works, the configuration requirements that are needed. But in terms of how it will look, so within Outlook, what you'll have is the ability to have a Give Feedback plugin. And once you click on Give Feedback, you'll be able to begin and you'll be able to follow that process through to be able to provide feedback for people within your organization. So what happens when someone is in two roles within a performance year? So if somebody is to move role, for example, within a performance year, what you have within the settings, and I'll come to the settings now. Seeing as Paul Scholes, and I'll become my own user. So one of the great things about continuous performance management within SuccessFactors is, it's really its simplicity in terms of how you use the tool. So one of the options that you have is you can hide the meeting history of previous managers from the new manager. So you can either keep the meeting histories from the previous manager, or you can decide that it's a new manager, it's a new start, they shouldn't necessarily have access to that information, and you can hide that information from that user within the system. So in terms of, it would take a mature culture to deal with performance management in this way. I agree. There is, a necessity for change management that would go with an implementation of continuous performance management, especially if you are, as an organization, looking to move away from that sort of more rigid, structured approach of an annual performance cycle. And it can take time to bed in. Culturally, it can depend on what people are used to, and will you have resistance to change? Well, sometimes people see this as additional steps in performance rather than wanting to reduce steps, but ultimately it will, increase the quality of your performance conversations, ensure those conversations are taking place, which is a big thing, and assist your organization's sort of performance culture develop and grow. But I do agree, it depends on where you are as an organization, and in terms of how you can move to this would depend on that change management piece. So is there any more questions? I'm guessing, Manuela, your questions, could you describe how it will work? Is this in regards to the Outlook integration?
Oh, yes, it was. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let me just try one more time. And if this doesn't work, then we'll just move forward and continue with the presentation. Again, my sincere apologies. No, it doesn't look like it's going to play ball, unfortunately. So my sincere apologies for that. In terms of the way continuous performance management works on mobile, it was a tool that was originally designed for mobile, so it's very intuitive and very easy to use. You have the same features and functionality available. There's largely parity between desktop and mobile. And again, if anyone is interested in seeing that, again, sincere apologies for today, but I'm happy to, we can always book a quick catch up in and I can take you through that once the software is working as expected. Okay. So coming back to our slides. So in terms of configuration, there's a few settings that if you've currently got SuccessFactors performance and goals already in place, or you're interested in adding SuccessFactors performance and goals in terms of these implementation steps, these are very high level and basically just focusing on continuous performance management. So you would have provisioning settings, which you would need a certified partner such as Talent Team to implement on your behalf. Within the admin center, under tools and under performance management feature settings, you need to enable continuous performance management within your options there. You would then need to set up your, define your features and your label configuration. So in terms of where we were looking at where we're adding our activities and our achievements, what our label should be within them. Then, as with all of SuccessFactors, there's a number of notifications that you can have within CPM. So just checking and validating that you want those enabled and that the text is correct and set up. And then finally, role-based permissions, so applying target populations if you want to restrict, for example, who can open channels with who can request feedback from who as well. That's a very high level guide, but if anyone is interested in finding out further information, please feel free to reach out and get in touch. Okay. So that brings us largely to the end of today's presentation. So I'll just check if there's any further questions and say thank you all for joining.
Yeah, there's one more. Can a CPM administrator track activity to check whether people are using the system?
Yep, so in the most recent release, which is just coming now, in terms of those multi-channels, we can report now through people analytics, and we can check within that, so run data out of that to validate that there is usage. You can also have reports in terms of that user manager relationship as well to validate that the system is being utilized. Okay, is there any further questions for today?
Okay, well, if no more questions, then this webinar has been recorded, by the way, and we will share it with you later on today, so you can rewatch it or share it with your colleagues as well. And please do feel free to reach out to us for any queries or questions, or if you would like to see the mobile version as well. And we really hope that you found this session useful and are taking some ideas away. Okay, thank you, John, so much.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
All right, thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Bye, everyone.